Imagine it's 8 a.m. Central Time. You wake up, alarm is blaring, birds chirping, windows cracked, the breeze comes in through the window on an early fall morning. You get the smell of sausage, a little bit of toast. You check your alarm, it hasn't gone off. What time is it, you may ask? Did you miss the bus? You get up, you race, backpack first, pencils next, binder second. One sock is gone. Slip on a pair of Nike socks. One black, one white. You race down the stairs, only to forget that you have again lost your favorite pairs of shoes. Where could they be? In the closet? Did the dog eat it? You never know. You pick up your second pair of shoes. You race downstairs again. Brush your teeth. You go back in your room. You turn off your PlayStation that you left on while trying to game last night. You grab a quick plate of food and you rush outside while your mom and dad yells, "Are you late again?" Now you have a friend you can depend on. You know that he can help. He has his driver's license and you are yet to get yours. But it doesn't matter. As long as you make it to them before they leave, you can get there. You run, you sprint. You're one of the fastest kids in the school. You can make it on time. You just need to make sure that you have your stride on and that you're really pushing it. But you don't want to get too sweaty. It's all good though. You have gym class first. The early breeze from the morning's a little cold. You've forgotten your jacket. You're a little ashy because you didn't get any lotion on. You continue to run. The pace is getting to you now. It's about 1.5 miles from the house. You're encroaching around the 3/4 of a mile, but that won't stop you. You're gonna make it. You continue to run. You continue to go until you get to the corner of where you're supposed to be. And something stops you, and it creeps on you like a dark, eerie feeling. Something's not right, but you can't quite put your finger on it. You get this overwhelming hunch that the cars that you usually see aren't there. And on top of that, your friend isn't on time. You're running 5 minutes behind. You won't even make it to class even if you wanted to. You drop your head. In a defeated manner, you walk the whole 1.5 miles back to the house. You get to your house. Your mom asks you what happened. You explain with a defeated look on your face. "I was late to school again." She looks at you and says, "You were up late again playing Modern Warfare 3, weren't you? You're sitting at level 40. You've unlocked one of your favorite guns. The perks are starting to unveil. You're almost to prestige. You're sitting on that cusp. After grinding hours of classes and just coming off a Thanksgiving break and having to go see your family, you're now able to play COD for a whole day. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of me in 2011. To be exact, this is the story of me on November 29th, 2011. In fact, this day will always remember, or I will always remember this in infamy. This is not a day that I consider to be a great day in my life by any means. This is not a video where you can necessarily feel nostalgic about. I wanted to arouse that sense of urgency and that sense of wonder within you so that you may understand and better comprehend my story. Ladies and gentlemen, that day will always be the most vivid imagery that will ever come into my head. And it has set the timetable and has set the motivation that I've had to make YouTube videos over my whole career. You see, as a human being, we often overlook the bad parts of our life and we think only about the good parts. We brush it to the back of our minds and we think to ourselves, hey, if we forget about it, it simply won't exist anymore. You go on for a little bit. It may last 1, it may last 2, it may last 3 or 4 years. But after a while, it'll eventually seep up. This is the story of me and how the actions of that day were never fully dealt with until recently. On this day, I proceeded to play Modern Warfare 3 after being late for school. I ran over to my friend's house. Nobody was there. I had this eerie sense or this eerie feeling that something was wrong. And at the time, I didn't know what it was. I wasn't really strong in my walk with Christ. And I just felt like something overwhelming was telling me not to go knock on the door. Now, I had knocked on this door many of times, and I had been late to class many of times. Or maybe not late to class, but I had been late for the bus many of times and just went to get picked up by my friends at the time. And this time was different. It didn't feel like there was a happy sense in the air. So I proceeded to chalk it and say it's my first time being absent in the year. There was no basketball game that we had that week. It was all practice. And I felt like I could go home, miss one practice out of the year, and play some Call of Duty. Now, at this time in Modern Warfare 3, there really was no esports. It was really hard to find them. There was no really thing that you could do. It was really just search and destroy tournaments, and that was pretty much it. So for me, grinding the public matchmaking was something I wanted to do, and I was really close to Prestige. Usually I would have hit Prestige in a week, but with this game, I didn't really get that vibe that Modern Warfare 3 was really the game for me. It was dull, dark, the maps always seemed a little grayish, but it kind of simulated what Modern Warfare 3 stood for, and that was World War 3. The world would be grayish. Little did I know that's how my life would become. After coming back home and sitting down, I brought my PlayStation downstairs to sit with my mom and her friend. Now, my father was on deployment at the time, and he was gone. He had been gone about, I want to say, close to a year, and we were all looking forward to it, and we're really excited about it. It wasn't often that I got to see my father. In fact, I didn't have a father for half of my life, and then when I did have a father figure in my life, he was deployed for most of it. But as a young man, I tend to very engross myself in the very aspects of video games and sports. Everything to me was competition. If I could compete, if I could be great at something, this would mean my dad wouldn't have to deploy anymore, we wouldn't have to work anymore, and we can do something better. I became obsessed with the notion of competing, so much and so that when I found Call of Duty and the competitive aspects of it, I really dug my teeth into and sunk it and chewed it up like a turkey on Thanksgiving Day. After playing this game and sitting down for a while, I began to notice something was off. My phone didn't have the usual messages that it had. We all had a group chat, and this was around the time where you still kind of used, old slide phones or flip phones. I was really blessed. I was able to get an Android. I had the PlayStation phone at the time, the Sony Xperia. But we didn't have that group chat, and I didn't get that text about where I was in first period. Usually my basketball teammates would ask, hey, where you at? What are you doing? Are we going to play afterwards? Are we going to go do this? I didn't get those text messages. I also didn't get the text message that said that they were on the way or that they had arrived at school, the ones that I usually get. Usually I'd meet up with them for breakfast, or I'd meet them after first period, and we'd link up and just sit in the hallway and have a good time before our next class. It began to dawn on me that something was wrong, but then I queued up for another match. I played game after game, not noticing a thing, completely engrossed in it. Domination on hard hat, team deathmatch on terminal, and last but not least, free-for-all on dome. These were some of the most incredible moments of my life. Enjoying every second of them, not realizing that this moment would shortly completely flip on its head. I began to smile as I looked at my 55-inch screen TV. As I was on a 10-kill streak, I began to work. Boom, another person ran around the corner. Dropped him in 3 shots. Boom, another player runs around the corner. Dropped him in 3 shots. The AK was a well-rounded weapon, but it didn't seem like I had really fully mastered it at the time. It was different than the Modern Warfare 2 AK, and it was still taking me time to learn it. I began to really question myself. Is this the gun that I'm going to use going forward in this Prestige? Or I'm going to take a look at another gun and possibly get that gold? The lobby ends. The game ends. I end up 24-7. After I had started the game 3-7, I had made a swift comeback. Somebody opens up their scratchy Bluetooth headset and proceeds to call me words that I will not utter on the screen. And I look over and it's a phone call to my mother. And I become nervous, not understanding which way or how to answer this question, or if now I have to go to school. She shakes her head, uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Leonard? My head begins to run. A light bulb goes off in my head. Leonard. I had a friend named Leonard. After I listened to the menu music for a little bit and heard it in the background, I proceeded to open up a laptop that I had gotten for my birthday earlier the year. And I proceeded to go through everything that was on it. Is my Vegas Pro good? Is all my settings right? And I decided to open up the browser. Now, to give you a perspective on what I'm about to open up, this is the old days of Facebook where everything was in chronological order. And the days of Facebook where pretty much you had to change your password every other day because your little brothers or your little sisters would get into it. So I proceeded to type my password about 3 or 4 times and I still couldn't get it right. And just as I was about to give up, I remembered to myself, my old lunch number. I quickly type it in. Business as usual. People posting about their dogs, about their family. And then you have the occasional person who's just depressed and is eternally depressed and nothing you do can get them out of it, and you just offer your condolences, like it, and move on. Everything seemed to be normal. But just as I was about to shut it, I decided to scroll one more time. And as soon as I scrolled it, it was the most devastating news I'd ever heard in my life. It was a video by one of my friends. And it was quoted, "I'll be missing you," by P. Diddy and Faith Evans. My heart melted. It was my Leonard. And I clicked on the video, and it was a collage of all his pictures and all his moments, some with me, some with others. And my heart dropped. This couldn't be true. I could not accept it. I froze. My mom, understanding what was going on, grabbed the laptop, scrolled, and I asked her if it was true. She said, "Let me call the school real quick." She hopped on the phone. After that phone call, all I ever remember is looking into a screen as blank as you can ever do it. My hands were completely frozen. I couldn't move anything on the video game. I couldn't even feel the thumbsticks in my hands. The PlayStation 3 controller, which I had known so well, felt like a distant object. I went 0-24 that game. I didn't get a single kill. I stood in awe. Shocked. Stunned. A moment that would never happen to me again. I was completely neutralized. I had been broken. The person who had offered me the most advice and the best advice up until that point was taken from me. And the game we had just talked about never looked so bleak and so dim ever before. I don't bring this video up to make light of it. I don't bring this video up to make you feel bad about it or to arouse any sorrow or disbelief again. I make this video to let you understand exactly what it means to have somebody who doesn't have it all together. Recently, my YouTube channel has become a very spotty hit or miss channel. I upload when I felt like it, when I had time to do it, and when it was something I felt like doing. And I prided myself on that. It was something I enjoyed doing, and I took the time to grow. And every person felt like when they came to this channel that they belonged there. My quality has spoken for itself. But over time, I had lost it. After dealing with a moving process early and late in June, and living out of my car pretty much for the next 2 months, bouncing around couch to couch, and thank you to the friends who allowed me to do that, I faced the most incredible challenge that I had thought yet. Uncomfortability. Up until this point, I had known everything, had everything in my hands, and could pretty much figure out almost everything. But now it was all up to God. And I prayed every night, and I believed every night. And I come here to tell you guys this so that you guys can get a better feel for exactly what is going on. Not only with me, but within the society and place that we're in and the time that we live in right now. We face incredible challenges every day. I feel like every time I wake up, there's something more to do. There's a million different things to do. Yet here we are again, making the same YouTube videos that I've made ever since 2010. Looking into a camera, talking, trying to make other people smile and other people feel exactly what my life has done so that I can help them just as others like Nate Shot have done before me. I really didn't want to make this video. I didn't feel like it would be manly enough or strong enough. I didn't feel like people would really understand. But after a series of prayers and meditations last night and a couple nights before, it really dawned on me that if I can't do it here, I can't do it anywhere. And that the virtue of a man is not what other people think about him. It's about what he builds and how the character he presents as himself is portrayed. After a lot of things went by through June and July, I finally had some good friends who took me in, and I was able to get a crib. In fact, some of the setup that you're looking at right now is the blessing of a friend's after somebody broke into my car and stole every single piece of equipment that I had ever used for the last year. My headphones, my controllers, even my Game Boy, my very first console, my very first handheld was taken out of it. It still had my first ruby red, and it still had the scratches from when I accidentally threw it because I got mad because I couldn't beat Gym Leader 4. I was devastated, broken, but I continue to have faith and remember Job saying in the Bible, God giveth and he taketh away. Also around the time I had met a woman that had been a part of my life beforehand. I have known her since 8th grade. I had seen her multiple times. She was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen in my life. I proceeded to get to know this woman even more than I had ever had before. And we began to develop a relationship. So much and so that we became intertwined in a very serious relationship. And I fell in love for the first time in my adult life. Life had begun to have a certain blossom to it. I was on my own. I could breathe. After being with my family for so long and helping to take care of them, I was on my own in the wild. I found a real job that I can work and prepare. And after Valorant Champions, I continued to make my stride into non-esports related things. Esports and gaming had grown tiresome. I had become drained. I felt like I wasn't motivated to do anything. And so I decided to go to a real job and really work and put my dream on a hold. And I wanted to take care of this new relationship, be there in this new relationship, and really build it. Days went on. I lived in complete ecstasy, in complete ignorance. Days passed. Moments felt like eternity. And I just was living in complete gratitude, completely oblivious to the promise that I had made almost 11 years ago today. Then all it took was one day. Just like 11 years ago, all it took was one day. One thing led to another. Arguments began. I began to sacrifice myself for the good of her, and she began to do the same. We could not see eye to eye. And a problem that had so often eluded itself had reared its ugly head again. I wasn't comfortable with complacency. I wasn't comfortable with mediocrity. And she was. She liked the simplicity of life, the easy flowing, no challenges. Why I embraced it. I enjoyed the pain, the suffering, not because it was a pleasant experience, but because what came after it was as most pleasant as they get. I had learned to embrace pain and suffering and to build it and to have some sort of grind. I loved it. I enjoyed it. Sometimes I love to lose more than win because I could learn from it, adapt, and overcome. It was satisfying to see all my hard work after a setback be pushed and challenged. She could not agree. Shattered my whole relationship. And I was distraught. The only girl I had ever loved, gone out of my life. My dreams and everything I worked for had not been touched in months. How do I even start back up again? I had done it every day for years, and now I had went almost 90 days without even trying to upload a video. I debated suicide. Leonard had took his life because of a woman and their arguments and their toxic relationships. And I had almost fallen down the same exact curve 11 years later. And it goes to show you that no matter how great you are, no matter how blessed you are, no matter how much you work, you can never escape something if you don't face it. And here is me facing it. It has been the most dark time in 11 years for me. This last 2 months or a month and a half. I don't know what to do every day. I don't have it all figured out. And just like Leonard, I had no way of showing the person that I loved how I truly loved him and how I could really be better. And what's worse is the more sometimes you try, the more it feels like you just push him away. I have faced countless challenges in this gaming world. Whether it be winning, losing, fighting every obstacle I can, shadow banned, I've seen it all. I've faced many challenges in my life. When I was in the Navy, there was hundreds of things that happened. that just I couldn't get around. Heat, jet blasts, other things. But I'd always found something to cling on to. And usually that something was God. But this time, it's almost like I didn't even want to go to him. I had trusted so much, believed in it so much, thought this was the right thing at the right time so much. And to see it not be that, I just didn't want to face it. And to know that I was part of the problem hurt me even more. And to know that I couldn't fix anything but just sit in silence in my own regret made me hate myself. And now I sit here in an empty room talking into a mic, expressing myself. And I think it's the bravest thing I've ever done. Because instead of putting matters into my own hands, instead of thinking that I was the solution and that I was going to be able to fix it or that I was the problem, I went beyond myself. I prayed. I gave it to something more powerful than me. And now I'm coming here and expressing it to other people who can have an impact. So long as all these years have passed, I have been the one in the driver's seat. I have given my opinions. I have given my statements. I have talked about these games in my way and how I've seen them with the help of the Lord, with gathering as much evidence as possible. And now I don't have much of anything else other to say. I simply don't have it figured out. When I get up and I do the same things, I visualize, I meditate, I pray, I read, and I grind out this gaming career in any way, shape, or form that I can. And I've become almost numb to the process. Almost numb to the disappointment. Almost heartless, as some would understand. And that's not the man that I should become. It's not the man I'm going to become. And it's definitely not the man that I inspire or want others to be like. I have made serious mistakes. But I did not make the mistake that my best friend made years ago. And that I have carried that burden all this time. Leonard's favorite number was 11. He died in 2011. And it's been 11 years since. And never more have I felt it. In more pain, but in also more pleasure and joy than today. For I do not know the extent of his mindset, nor will I ever know that. But what I do know is how merciful the Lord is. And that when I needed something the most, he was there. And what I pray is that in his last moments, me knowing his mercy and Leonard knowing his mercy, that he may have found some solace. We all make these decisions, and we have to live with them at the end of the day. And sometimes we cannot fathom or swallow our own pride and forgive ourselves and love ourselves. And I was inspired to really make this video. By video, I'll leave in the link in the description below. And when I seen that video, I wept. I cried. I cried right here on this bed for hours. And I thought to myself, I'm not a failure. Men have come before us and they'll go after us. And sometimes just when we think we have it all, it's not enough. And just when we think we're not doing enough, it all clicks. To hear an older man come on and say he understood gave me a sense of relief. I'm 25 years old. I'm young. He's 55, 56, something like that. I couldn't imagine a whole nother lifetime of this. And how much I would grow and how much I have grown in just this one. It feels like a long time. It also feels so short. After all, it has been 11 whole years since my best friend left us. And I still feel it like it just happened. And I make this video to tell you guys that it's okay not to have it figured out. It's okay to learn. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to have problems. I'm not better than any single person I make this video. When I make this video, I'm with you. And I don't have any goals of going out on my own sword. I don't take any pride on going out on my own sword. But as long as I can sit here and look in this camera and I can face my problems sober and in good heart and good conscience, I can improve and go up. I've had some great people around me who have really helped me, but nothing helps me more than this, than fulfilling my promise to Leonard Padernal, that I will continue to make these YouTube videos and continue to inspire people, not only just by these video games, but with his story. And his legacy will live on this channel and will live on with me forever. And my goal is to inspire and to generate a positive attitude and a grateful attitude towards life through him. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the toughest day of the year for me every year. It never gets any easier. And I always find a new creative way to do something. And this year is probably my most creative. This world is harsh. And just like Modern Warfare 3, it can be gray and dull and unambitious. Like a copy and paste of yesterday, like Modern Warfare 3 was almost a copy and paste of Modern Warfare 2. But at the end of the day, there's a chance for something new there. New maps like Dome, Hard Hat are maps I look fondly upon now. And I look at and I say, you know, I used to hate those maps, but now I really appreciate them because my gosh, the maps we get now. Just like now I look back and say, man, it was harsh and cruel, but man, being a kid and not having to do all this, it wasn't so bad. And just like years from now, I'll look back and say, it really wasn't that bad. In fact, this is the best time to be a man. It's the worst and it's the best. It's harder because finding a woman that is worth it is like finding a diamond in coal. Don't happen at the surface very often. You got to dig deep and you got to get pressure and you got to get some intense focus. The responsibilities are higher. The stakes are greater. If you say one little thing on Twitter or YouTube, you may risk getting canceled and never being back on platforms again. And everything you built coming down in one fell swoop. But on the other hand, it is the greatest time. Because the ones who are strong, who stay focused, stay disciplined, and stay committed will be rewarded. Because there's not many of us left. And so I tell my fellow gentlemen, and even my fellow ladies, most of this is for men, but even for fellow ladies too out there. It's okay not to have everything figured out. And I want to say thank you to the man who made that video in the description. I appreciate it. A young man like me needed to hear it. Thousands of miles away, maybe hundreds, I don't know. And I'm getting inspired by somebody on the internet who just set up a camera, no elaborate setup like me, and just made a video in the wilderness. And it makes me really appreciate the simplicity of life and how all it takes is the simplest things and not a great gaming rig, a great PC, or a great girlfriend, or all this money to be truly joyful. All it takes is to love yourself. And if you can't do that, then to love the Lord because he is higher than we. And if we can't forgive ourselves, he can. And that is my message today. Thank you for coming to my video, ladies and gentlemen. I know this was a kind of a flip-flop one. I don't have anything other to say. No promotions, none of that. I don't really do that on this channel. The only thing that I would ask is that if you guys are struggling or have any problems, please reach out to me or anybody else. Please get the suicide hotline. That'll be on the video right now. Check the links in the descriptions. Please go over and support, show you some love if you guys could. To Leonard's family. His brother is one of the strongest brothers that I have. He's my brother as well, but he's a very strong person, and that whole family is strong. And today our hearts and our prayers are out with him. Thank you guys for coming to this channel. Bless up. As always, God bless. And in the next video, I probably won't have it all together.